activated. Your weekly football fix kicks off now.
You can follow the LFC Total Red Football Podcast on X, Facebook, YouTube and TikTok.
Another LFC Total Red Football Podcast with myself, Kings. Joining me tonight is Neil and Kev. And we're going to be looking at the 2-0 win for Liverpool against Aston Villa, which ended a run of really, really bad results for the Reds. And we'll also be looking ahead to tomorrow's game against Real Madrid in the Champions League, which is always a tasty matchup for the Reds. So first off, I'll see how everybody is. So how are you, Neil?
Yeah, all good, thank you. All good. Nice to be coming on after a win and a fairly traumatic October. So hopefully we've turned the corner.
Yeah. Kev, how are you?
All good, mate. That run we were on made me think of being an Everton fan even worse. So I'm just glad we're out of it. So no, it's all good, mate. All good.
I think that is the whole thing of it, isn't it? You know, when Liverpool on a bad result, you can always rely on Everton to be on a worse result and be more miserable. And it's like being a Blue Nose must be one of the most miserable things in the world because they're pretty much on a worse run than Liverpool always. So, but but we were, as Neil said, you know, happy after Saturday night, 2-0 win against Aston Villa. You know, it was nice to get back to winning ways, desperately needed, obviously. Florian Wirtz started on the bench, and there is a call maybe for him to just enter the fray later in games at the moment until we can find a way of getting everybody in and working. Obviously, Isak didn't play, so he went with Ekitike and Gakpo, obviously Salah up front. First off, then, Neil, you know, just finally getting that awkward, crappy run out the way where I think most opposition fans have been having a field day, you know, saying as champions they've been poor. It's like, so it's nice just to hopefully have stopped the rot, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's not only the result. I think if you look back since the start of the season, we've not really had a performance where you can say we felt comfortable that we were going to win that game. And I'm not saying we felt particularly comfortable, but I think after about half an hour, when the game settled a bit and we started to get some control and started to create some chances, it did feel more comfortable than it has in probably any game other than the Frankfurt game this season. So yeah, result really, really important. But I think the performance really, really important as well, and kind of trying to get back to what we were good at last season. A more disciplined team in terms of its set up. The midfield did get played through a couple of times early on, but there seemed to be more structure. Gravenberch seemed to be sitting a bit deeper. McAllister probably had his best game of the season. So yeah, for me, result massive, performance massive. And I think after every game I've been thinking ahead of the next one, I don't know what team I'd play tomorrow. I actually feel that, you know, 10, probably 9 or 10, I would know exactly what I would want to do tomorrow if I was on a slot. So I have felt over the recent weeks it's been difficult.
Yeah. Oh, we see. I think we lost Neil there.
Here he is, back again.
Hello, Neil. Are you back?
Yes. Yeah. So I think it's been really hard. As I say, I go through what I think the team should be in my head, and I've been confused ahead of most games. But I felt after that one on Saturday, it's a case of trying to build on what we've done well, and maybe with the new players, introducing them slowly over the coming weeks. So yeah, result massive, performance massive. Very happy.
Now, Kev, obviously on the last stream, between the three of us, me, you and Matty, only I went for a win. 2-0 win, happy days. So obviously you were happy sitting in the ground watching that at least. So what was your overall thoughts of it?
Similar to Neil, I thought we were tentative to start with, and great save from Amishvili from Matty Cash within the first couple of minutes. They didn't settle, but I think it played into our hands how the style of play that they had. Playing at the back was just naivety at the best, and and that's how Salah gets his goal. But the one thing that was refreshing was the energy back in the side. You had Mo probably playing the most intense he's played, and when he's on that kind of form, he's hard to play against. And Digne found out every time he was getting sent for the echo, every time he was going past him, he looked physically strong. In which other weeks he's looked weak. We looked stable, but then, as I say, we get that second goal. And the first goal was needed at the time. It was nice to get it just before half time. Ethekite's header, even though it was offside, was an absolute stormer of an header. Shame that wasn't. But you could feel in the ground it was coming. There was an energy in the ground, not only from the fans, but they were picking up on what the players were doing. It was nice that we were singing slot, even though it was 0-0. And then second half, we played well, but I felt we managed the game until Ethekite goes off. And then the last 15 minutes with the changes that Villa made, it kind of made them more offensive and put us on the back foot at times. And there was times where Grav lost the ball with a gamble play in the middle, and they countered. And I'm thinking, if that's midweek against Madrid or if that's against City, there's better quality of players that could actually cut through. But other than that, I'm not going to be disappointed. It was refreshing to see everyone walking out with a smile on their face and enjoying the fact that the team looked kind of like the team that we had. Nice to get the clean sheet as well. That was vital. We managed the game, but there were parts of that needs to be managed a little bit better. But no, I thought we would get something out of this game. I think we'll get something out of the Madrid and possibly Man City because of the style of play that they play. It's the teams against low block is where we have a struggle. But I'm hoping that the confidence that this breeds into the team will be able to deal with that. But no, happily impressive, and I agree with what Neil said about the new players. Integrate them as and when we can. I think Robbo needs to start at left back because he looks more solid. Yeah, and then obviously bring Vert on as well if needs be. But they've got to be integrated gradually, and I think it's something that we should have done at the start of the season with hindsight. But it's easy looking at it 3 months in than at the start of the season when we all wanted everyone to be playing and all these different scenarios of playing. So overall, very delighted.
You can follow the LFC Total Red Football Podcast on X, Facebook, YouTube and TikTok.
What surprised me is over the last few weeks, a lot of opposition fans have been having a pop at Liverpool. They're this and they're that because they're losing games. Now, all teams lose games, but okay, it's been a difficult period for Liverpool. Obviously, a few friends of mine, for whatever reason, they chose in life, but they're dirty Manchester United fans. And they've been living it up, kind of like, oh, you're so bad, you're so crap, etc. And I think, right, okay, they beat Aston Villa. They're still ahead of Man United, and they've had such a torrid time. It's like, even you look at the league, they're third in the league, which I'm quite surprised, they're so high up when they've had such a dodgy period. Now, yes, they're 1 behind Man City. They're 7 behind Arsenal. But when you're saying, well, we're just coming into November, it's not insurmountable at all, to overhaul 7. I'm not saying they're going to overhaul 7 points, but do you know what I mean? Everyone's saying it's been so bleak. And when you actually look at it in the cold light of day, yes, it's been rubbish for that period. But if they've now turned the corner, and I say that tentatively because we don't know, it's one game against Aston Villa. But if they have, then they're actually in a decent position to push on. So, when it comes to this weekend, this week in particular is a very, very tough couple of games coming up. But I think, like Kev's just said, we have a chance in both games. It depends how Slot approaches them with the players he picks. Just looking at the game Saturday night, Neil, Mo Salah, as Kev's already touched on, and yourself, really good game. Scored his 250th goal for LFC. So he joins that elite, Roger Hunt and Ian Rush at the top end of the table for scoring. And I think, it's such a fantastic player. And we've run out of superlatives to say about him, don't we? He's that good when he's on his game.
Yeah. If you go back a week, though, some of the things that were being said, not only outside of the fan base, within the fan base, were not particularly complimentary. And I think a lot of people.
I'm honest enough to say. I'm honest enough to say, Neil, right, in our chat, I said, and we talked about in the last episode, is it time to drop Mo Salah because he hasn't been playing well? And I said in the chat, you watch, he'll go and bloody score, and then he scored. It's like, which I'm so happy for, but it's just one of them. As soon as you say, should you drop him and try a different way of playing, he goes and scores and has a brilliant game, or very good game. So it's like it's just one of them, isn't it?
I thought he was really good. I thought he was really sharp. And Kev said he fancied it against Luca Dean, didn't he? I think he felt he had the pace on him, he had the beat him of him, and he was strong. This is a guy that since he's come to the club, every single season turns in phenomenal numbers, goals, assists. Even in 2021. When we had a real off season, I think he got over 30 goals that season. So he's got a lot of credit in the bank for me. And I'd always find it hard to leave him out of the team. And I think one of the things that I think we've tried to change the way we play. So last season a lot was funneled through him. And I think we saw a bit more like last season on Saturday, and he was a lot more involved. He was, you started to see those balls in behind their defence, these slide rule passes in behind the defence from the right wing. So if we involve him and we get him in the game, he will make things happen, and will continue to make things happen. But yeah, as you say, what a player he's been for the club, 250 goals, and hopefully many more.
I think it was telling, obviously, that with the formation, obviously having Szoboszlai and Gravenberch and McAllister, Bradley or Trent last season, it's similar to what he was used to. So I suppose it just seems to, for him, that's what he favoured, because that's what he liked last season.
I did see a stat a couple of days back, and it was basically evidence that he's been receiving far less of the ball this season than he did last season. Yet on Saturday, we saw the reverse of that. So, he didn't play well for a number of games. And even when he did get on the ball, he wasn't as good as Mo Salah should be. But I think, at home, another home game tomorrow, hopefully we'll use him as much as possible. As you said, we've got that solid midfield three behind him. I think it helps having Szoboszlai there on that right-hand channel, if you like, because it covers for some of his defensive work. So yeah, let's hope that going back to what we know best is not only the best for the team, but also brings out the best in Mo Salah.
You're listening to the LFC Total Red Football Podcast.
Kev, obviously, as we've said before, a season ticket holder, regular attender at Anfield. So just how good has Mo Salah been? And again, not so maybe this season, but just in general, to get to 250 goals, it's fantastic, really. I think I got a breakdown of it here. I think it's, let's have a look. 46 times in the Champions League, Sorry, go on.
Cool.
No, I was going to say 188 goals in the Premier League, 5 occasions on the Europa League, 6 strikes in the FA Cup, 4 in the League Cup, and 1 in the FA Community Shield. So, I mean, it's not like he's a one competition wonder type thing. He's done it here, there, and everywhere for Liverpool. When he's been needed, he's come up with the goods. He has been phenomenal for Liverpool, hasn't
he? He's the closest we've got to a Messi. That's how consistent he's been. Is with his goal contributions. His goal contributions, I think, is over 330 overall, if you take in his assists. The only thing that is against his mark for all the goals he scored, he hasn't scored the Champions League final goal. Or has he? Oh no, he did, didn't he? Against Tottenham.
Yeah.
Against Tottenham. So other than that, he's emulated everything that you want. He's not even a forward. And
that's what surprises most people. Yeah,
it is. And as a winger, he's now in that. He's in that question of who was better, Thierry Henry or Mo Salah, that people like to bring up, because he's won. If not, although albeit the same amount of Premier Leagues, he's won more European Cups. He's won more than what Thierry Henry is. Now, I'm a big Thierry Henry fan, but there is a question to be said how good he is. I think a girl who goes on, who does socials, summed it up well on the overlap and knocked everyone down and saying that he's the best left winger, the right winger that's been in the Premier League history. And you can't argue with that. When you look at the numbers, the consistency that he's been doing it's ridiculous. And every year, it feels as though he's still that one season wonder. Do you know what I mean? And people still hold on to what that girl said about him being similar to that Juventus player. What's his name? Corella or the right winger. When he came, he'll just beat him. I still have that remark in my head every time he scores a goal. He's won everything, and the individual awards he wins as well. You know, there's none of adulation that can be given to him. The reason why he gets criticised as much is because of the standards he set, and when he falls below them, you notice it. And and when he's not on fire, he's still potent. And that's the annoying thing for every other fan who is not a Liverpool fan. It's the fact that he could be quiet for 90 minutes and in the 91st minute he'll score. And that's the beauty of having a player like him.
Yeah.
He is, and how fit he keeps himself as well. And to keep him going the way he is, I'm just blessed that I see him on a weekly basis, and it's great to see the likes of him play, and knowing that I've seen the best. It's great. Do you know what I mean? And although I criticise and I have criticised his I think we all have to a certain degree, but that's, as I say, that's down to the figures he puts up and what the expectancy of what he can do. Honestly, when he's playing like he did on Saturday, he's just unplayable. It's just ridiculous. So, but no, not enough said how good he is. And if he wasn't African and he was more of Spanish or a German player or somewhere in the top 5 national leagues in Europe, he'd be winning Ballon d'Ors, no question. Yeah, that's it. Cuadrado. Well. Yeah.
No, I'm glad. Hopefully, this gives him confidence now moving forward. I mean, he's on about 5-6 goals or whatever, but I just hope it sparks him back into some kind of regular form, because Liverpool could really do with it at this point. It is a bit different, obviously, when new players come in, but it can unbalance it, as we've seen. It's unbalanced it a lot over the last few games. But if Slot maybe goes backwards a little bit and just sticks to something he knows, then I think Salah and other, even Ekasika, I think they'll benefit from it. Just a bit more of a settled side instead of just kind of like, I don't know, almost a passing hope almost type thing. But, he's got 2 difficult games coming up. We knew, obviously, Arne Slot was under a bit of pressure because of the run of results. And we talked about on the last show that, potentially, come the end of the week, if he'd lost all 3, it could potentially be out the door. And it's like, I said at the time, that's mad to think something like that. Well, of course, the first one, he's passed. He's done. The team played better, more confidence, so there's a tick. I mean, quite quickly, we'll move on and talk about the Real Madrid game, to be honest. It's like they're playing tomorrow night. Now, as we know, Real Madrid in the Champions League or the European Cup are formidable normally. They've won it that many times. Liverpool have a very good pedigree in the competition themselves. But by playing the way they have the last couple of months, or month or so, few weeks, I think people go into this game with a little bit of trepidation, Kev. And in a way, I can understand that while they are maybe under the cosh a little bit. But They come into Anfield. We're not going to the Bernabeu. They're coming to our ground. And I think that's obviously a massive positive for Liverpool. How do you see maybe the formation going with this and where he goes? Do you think he'll stick to similar to Saturday?
Yeah, I think he's got to. I think if he starts messing around with it against the Madrid side, who I always fancy we always win if we play them at Anfield, they have the ability to catch us on the break, which is counter-attacking, which is one of our weaknesses or has been in the last couple of weeks. But I see the intensity back within the crowd. That I think the worst thing that Madrid wanted was Liverpool winning emphatically the way they did against Villa, because that then plays into the heart that we're now got our confidence up. The fans will be exactly the same, and we'll be right up for it. And to be honest, everyone in the world be watching. You got 22 European Cup wins between both sides.
Yeah,
this is like the creme de la creme of champion. This is what the Champions League in the stages that the UEFA wants. These big ties with your big teams that have won the most, that are playing each other on every now and again frequently. This is the tie of all ties, and all eyes will be on Anfield tomorrow. So we have to put in a performance. I expect us to play exactly the same as we did against Villa. Probably tweak it maybe a little bit. I don't know, but I'll be starting the same side and give them a run of confidence playing that. But we've got to be aware that we're playing against quality, and they've got some very, very talented players. But again, they're beatable. We beat them last time they were here when they turned up with an unknown lad from Birmingham who was meant to be some kind of player. I don't know who he is, but he showed him the door, and hopefully we'll do the same again on tomorrow night as well. So and then there's also possibly a Fernandes playing at right back. So we put him in his corner, and I'd be looking at putting pace down that side as well and see how he copes with that if he does play. And I expect us to give him the support that he's expecting. And we'll and that's the thing. If Trent hadn't gone there, there wouldn't be a ferociousness that I am expecting tomorrow.
Yeah. Now, I will come back to the preview itself, Neil, but obviously now Kev's already touched on that. I was going to obviously talk about Trent Alexander-Arnold. It's all right. We'll just do it the other way around. I mean, it's a difficult one. He gave so much to the club, and at the end of the day, won a good amount of trophies. I think just the way it came about, the exit, the fans had a gripe about it, and some of them have got long memories. Others will just sit there and go, I'm here to support the side as it is now, don't care. So there's going to be a mix probably, isn't there?
Yeah, I think so. And let's be honest, the move so far hasn't really worked out for him. I know he's had that injury, but he's, the likelihood is he might not start and Valverde will start. So he's playing a sort of midfielder in his position. So that doesn't seem great for him tomorrow. I expect him to get loudly booed. And I think it will be the majority this time. Whereas I didn't, during that Arsenal game when he came on and booed, I didn't agree with it. I don't think it helped the team. But tomorrow...
He's an opposition player now at the end of the day.
He's an opposition player. And the only difference, I think when other players have come back that have achieved so much at the club, they're always respected and given a nice reception before the game. I'm not sure that he'll even get that because of the manner of his departure. So I think there'll be whistles. I think there'll be boos if he comes anywhere near that pitch, and maybe even at half time when he's warming up. So I don't expect, as I say, he's an opposition player, and he's open to get whatever the crowd decide to give him.
Yeah, this is it.
Like and subscribe to the LFC Total Red Football Podcast on YouTube.
I will go backwards now, and we'll roll back to the preview of the game itself. So We mentioned earlier Andy Robertson. I think Kirkes has been quite hit and miss while playing for Liverpool. So having the experience of Andy Robertson maybe at left back, do you think that would be beneficial? Obviously, we've just talked about Trent. We can't have him on the right because he doesn't play there no more. So we've got to have probably Bradley. Maybe he might put Szoboszlai there if he changes it, slightly. But having somebody like Robertson in the defence again with Konate and Van Dijk does bring some stability, I suppose, and extra experience, doesn't it?
Is that for me?
Yes, sorry, Neil.
Yeah. So I think familiarity along the back four is really important based on the run that we've been through. And I think the fullback areas have been pretty weak so far this season. And I think on Saturday you saw Robertson have a really, really good game. In a bit of a roving role at times. He was pushing on and trying to make things happen. And that's as good as I've seen him for a long time. And I thought Conor Bradley started slowly. But I think he gradually grew in confidence as the game went on. I thought he was really, really good second half. So assuming that they're fit to play, it's got to be an unchanged back four. My only concern about Saturday, and I'm being very picky, is that we made one sub, I think, and we've got 3 big games in 8 days. So if we do look better with Bradley and Robertson, can they play those 3 games in 8 days? And if not, do we need to make a change with 25 minutes to go, half an hour to go, and introduce someone else? But for me, it's a absolute no-brainer. They should be the starting fullbacks.
Kev, same for you. Do you think Robertson should be the first choice in this game? Maybe even the Man City game as well, just to give that extra experience and balance back to the side.
Yeah, we look more controlled, and I think Robbo can play that deep better than what Kirkes does. I think the problem you got with Kirkes is that he hasn't played that deep. Even at Bournemouth, he was slightly higher and slightly playing more offensive. Yeah. He's been asked to play in a different role. So fair play to the kid. He's tried it, but he's still a little bit sensitive, a bit weak in his challenges, and his games have been intermittent at times, and hit and miss. But it'll come, and I think it'll gradually will come. But at the minute, I'd be playing exactly what as Neil said. I think Slots averted to it in his press conference that Conor Bradley just has to try and stay fit. Do you know what I mean? And if he can stay fit, he can have that right back position of his own.
Yeah.
I just hope he can. The one downside to Bradley, which I hope he doesn't do, is he gets out of quickly, is getting the early yellow cards and putting pressure on a manager to make changes after 45 minutes, which is what you don't want from your right back at all. You want to be able to play those strategic substitutions as and when you feel freely, if needed to be. Do you know what I mean? And I agree with Neil on Saturday, only making one change with the games we've got coming up. Wasn't quite happy with that, but again, I'm not going to stand in the way. This is how he wants to play it, and I'll support the team and the manager and what he does. So he can't grumble. We come away with 3 points, no injuries. So, and it's pretty much the same again. But Robbo starts for me. He has to start. It allows. I think it allows Virgil van Dijk to play his positional play better.
Yes.
Because what you have with Virgil is a bit when we had the Karius and the Mingling part of it, is that he's trying to control a player at the back of him who can't handle the ball. So he goes and does that position as well as playing his own. And I think he's been trying to do that with Kirkes so he was a bit like babysitting the left-hand side a bit too much, which then means he's out of position, which then means positionally wise, he hasn't been his best. I think on Saturday what you saw is you've got someone who's now positionally playing the way he needs to. He's got the pressure off him because he can trust the player who's playing left back rather than Kirkes, who's just initially brought in. But that will come in time. Do you know what I mean? So no, Robbo for me.
Neil, the reason I picked out Andy Robertson is, of course, there's a big ifs, but if he plays like he can and he runs down byline. I know Gakpo's there as well. They interchange quite a lot, kind of thing as well, and as you can whip the ball in. And if at some point Trent plays, they're going to come up against each other. They were partners in crime at one point with the left and right, obviously swinging the ball in, and their assists that they got were phenomenal a couple of seasons ago. It'll actually be an interesting battle if they come up against each other this time instead of, playing in the same side, won't they?
Yeah, and hopefully it'll be Robertson that comes out on.
Well, yeah, they know each other so well,
do,
as players. So.
Yeah, I have a feeling we won't see Trent on the pitch playing. If I'm honest, but as you say, it will be interesting. But they're both professional. Robertson, captain of his country, and I think enough mischief about him to want to get one over on Trent as well. So yeah. But as you say, it would be interesting to see. Interesting about you mentioned about Gakpo. I think he's been part of the problem with Kirkez, because quite often I've seen Kirkez go on the overlap and Gakpo ignores him every single time. And I know Slot picked up on it in his press conference. And I think I totally agree with what Kev said about Virgil and the trust on that left side. And you can see that he's getting frustrated with Kirkez at times. But again, Gakpo, I think, has more trust in Robertson as well. And I notice it from that perspective. He is willing to sort of play him in more than he has been to Kirkez. And I feel for Kirkez a bit, because several times I've seen him go on the overlap and Gakpo and he just cuts inside. And, So, but it'll be interesting.
The LFC Total Red Football Podcast is available wherever you get your podcasts from. Also available on your smart speaker, or you can watch us on YouTube.
One player that is almost guaranteed to start is Hugo Ekitike, Kev, because I'll come on to Isak in a second, but, still a young player. He's done pretty well overall for Liverpool since he signed. He's still learning his trade. It's a massive game for him to maybe showcase, as the main striker at Liverpool at the moment, isn't it?
It is, but the lad's got confidence that I'd love to have if I was 22, 23, because he doesn't care who he's playing against. He feels as though he's got the ability to do anything. And we saw that on Saturday as well, with a bit of the Bobby Firmino little tricks on the right-hand side in the second half. So it's nice to see. If Trent does start, I would be saying to Ekitike to go on down that right-hand side and cause mischief if I was him. Otherwise, we're playing where he was. I think it looked a little bit more solid, a little bit more better. But I would have them. I would like, if it is Ekitike, to be switching it up and just putting them out of the centre-backs out of position and thinking who we're going to pick up, because now Ekitike's on the left and Gakpo's in the middle, or Salah then's up front, or Ekitike goes on the right. So you have that versatility. What I like about him is he's strong and can play. So if you need someone to hold the ball up, he can do that for us as well. So, and that helps as well, because McAllister starts playing a little bit forward. Get him on a forward front, which, as Neil said, alluded to at the start. Yeah, he looked good as well. So I don't worry about Ekitike tomorrow. This is the kind of game he loves, and the way he'll probably see is, I hope we score more goals than Mbappe, because then that gets me in the French team. That's the way he'll look at it.
Yeah. Neil, what's your thoughts on Hugo Ekitike? Doing okay? Apart from the minor indiscretion of the sending off, rather silly as it was, that seems to be behind him now, and he's probably learned a very harsh lesson with that, but apart from that, his Liverpool career so far pretty good?
Yeah, he's done well, and he's the one out of all the signings, and some big ticket signings, he hit the ground running. So scored goals, looks dangerous, links the play lovely. As Kev said, he's got an air of confidence, massive air of confidence about him, and some tricks as well. So he definitely won't be intimidated by that game tomorrow. He'll be going out there to prove that he's Liverpool's number 9, playing against Real Madrid. I do agree with what Kev said about the intensity dropping when he came off on Saturday. And again, and this is one thing that's really frustrated me, is Chiesa I think if you put him through the middle for the last 15, 20 minutes, would keep that intensity. He works so hard. He seemed reluctant to use him at Chelsea, and again reluctant to use him at the weekend. So, yeah, I'd let Ekitike go flat out for 70, 75 minutes tomorrow, and then I think I'd throw Chiesa on, because I do think he works hard, he presses hard, and he'll be a nuisance for defenders. So I think that's one adjustment that we could possibly look to make for tomorrow. But yeah, love Ekitike, and I think he'll explode. I think his ceiling is very, very high, and I think we could be on the verge of seeing a top class player emerge.
Yeah. The last one I'm going to talk about is Alexander Isak. Now, he's already come out and said he's going to miss the game against Real Madrid tomorrow with a groin problem. He's missed the last 3 as well. 50-50, maybe less than that. 60-40 chance he's going to play against City. I don't think he will personally. Kev, hopefully we haven't bought a dud. It does seem to have a few little things. He hasn't had the best of pre-seasons. I'm going to give him that credit, obviously. So it's very difficult to come into a side and, get your fitness up that quick. It's been a difficult period for him, and now he's got these injuries. And when I say I hope we haven't bought a dud, I don't mean he can't score goals and he's not a good striker. I just mean I hope we're not going to have somebody who this season especially is going to be in and out because his fitness just can't kind of get up to speed, if you know what I mean.
This is the problem you've got when you sign a player of his ability without a pre-season and all what went on. For me, he's always had these niggling injuries. Didn't get going last season until around about this time, maybe just around December, maybe January. He started scoring. That's when he started getting into free fall with the scoring. It's going to happen. We're going to have to try and find a way, and we'll probably see more of this during the season until pre-season starts again, because until he's, I don't think there's a way that we'll be able to gradually get him up to speed within that. I'm open, he can do, because I don't think we've got a dud. I think the issue is, I think had we just stopped that Ekitike thing, I think everyone would have been happy. But now you've got another player in Isak, and when he is on fire, do you play both of them up front and go into a 4-4-2, or do you? And that's a conundrum that the players have. You play Ekitike on the left hand side and play him down the middle. We've tried that; it hasn't worked. But you're talking about a player who hasn't been fit. He's struggling to get in, struggling with his chances. He's snapping at things and he's come with pressure. And unfortunately, with the price tag, people will have him down as he's got to get going. Me personally, I'll be giving him time. I'll be comforting him. I'd literally be playing him 20, 25 minutes if I can, just to ease him in. I know we've done that before, and he's starting to play 75. We just haven't played to his strengths as of yet. And until that happens, we're not going to see the best of him. And he's, the thing is, we haven't bought a player for 3 months. We bought a player for 6 years. So, it is going to take time. And the way you've got to look at him is that the quality will eventually come. Same with Flo. So I'm expecting these to gradually during the season, when they does kick in. But I'll be honest, I'm not going to hold my breath that it's going to be around the corner and under Christmas tree, open and wrapping, and there it is, a fit Isak, and he gets going. Sadly, it could take longer, and I hope it doesn't for the lad, because I know deep down he wants to prove everyone that he's made the right choice and he's done the right thing, and I think he has. We've just got to bed him in, and unfortunately at the minute he's got a young player below him who's having the opportunity, and that'll crave at him, because the game tomorrow will be the game that Isak would have wanted to and loved to be in part of. That's why he wanted to come to Liverpool. Those big games, you could have them in Newcastle, but it's not the same. You've got two mega hitters in the European Cup playing against each other. That's what he wants to play in. So it's going to take him time, and eventually it'll start coming in. Good thing is after the City game is there's an international break, so it gives him more time to breathe in, and that does help us. So and also being out the Carabao Cup is going to help us as well. It frees up one of our 2 weekend midweek games. It gives him time to get up to speed, and eventually it'll happen. But he has had these niggling injuries all through his career, and you see that. And it's not until the second season at Newcastle started getting better than what it initially started. So, we've just got to take our time. I think we all want him to do well. It's easy to see that, but for me, it's just going to take a bit more time, sadly.
Neil, what's your thoughts on the situation?
I'm very similar to Kev. I think for me, it's about ignoring outside noise and the fact that we've paid £125 million for him. I don't think him not being available to start on a regular basis is hurting us, because we've got a player that's doing very well in that position, and we've got goals from both wings as well. So it's got to be about doing what's right for him without rushing him, and getting him ready so that he can play a key part in the second half of the season for me. And I know there's pressure because they've spent so much money on him, but with him and with Wirtz to a certain extent, if our players can get us into a position in January where we're competing for the 2 big competitions, and then those guys come in and hit the ground running, that's going to be a huge boost to the squad at that point in time. So I'm absolutely the same as Kev. We get him right, he will be an asset for us as soon as we can get him fit. I think he's played in games where we've struggled, and we've not made chance after chance for him. He had a chance against Frankfurt in a game where we did play better, and he started to look a bit sharper in the second half against Palace as well. But as Kev said, it's a 6-year deal. He's here for 6 years. Let's try and make the most of what we've got this year with him without rushing him, especially when Ekitike's doing so well too. So I with both of them, both of the 100 million plus players, I would feed them in gradually as and when they're ready to have that impact. And I think, as I say, that could be a huge boost to the squad for the second half of the season.
Yeah, I agree, to be fair, with the pair of you. I mean, there is no need to rush him. As Kev said, the international break is coming up. So the sensible thing, even if he's kind of half fit or 3/4 fit, is to have a chat with Sweden and say, listen, it's not worth taking him, because if you mess that up by playing him a little bit here and a little bit there, it could set him back for his club career, which ultimately they want him to do well for that, so he can play well for Sweden. So it's a kind of catch-22. You've got to be very careful. And I would like to think maybe the international break, he can just train and get himself back up to a fitness and then go from there.
It's a tricky one, that, because if he is fit, and it sounds like he might be fit, if he's injury-free, then having 2 partial games for Sweden might help us. So
I just don't want it to be that he goes and
no.
He got a groin strain halfway through, and it's like,
exactly.
for God's sake, you know what I mean?
100% happy that there's no chance of that injury reoccurring, and if there isn't, then half an hour in one game and an hour in another game might help to build up his match fitness. So it's a tricky one.
It's sad in a way that Potter's in charge, because his predecessor was actually done well and was actually complimented by Stott in the fact that he didn't play him as much as he would have liked to, even though he was under pressure. So, I would hope hopefully the hamster runs round Potter's brain, and he does actually allow him to play in a big game and listen to what the club's saying, because the last thing that Sweden wants is to play him in 2 games and then they've lost him then for the rest of the internationals, where I don't even know if they can qualify for the World Cup, if they can or if they have. So but if they can't qualify, there's no point in playing them. That's me personally, but that's me because I love me domestic football over international football. So with
So,
my head on.
so Sweden are bottom of Group B with 1 point from 4 games. So the most they can get is to 7 points, which is what Kosovo are already on in second. So if Kosovo get a point, I don't think Sweden can qualify.
Yeah, there's no point in sending him over to a game that he's not going
Yeah.
to do well in. So I'd leave him. There's no point. Let them. Who's the other one? Is it Jokeres, who's Swedish?
So someone said he's going to have a scan. So I think he picked up
he?
a muscle injury on Saturday. So,
Conveniently.
yeah.
Sorry for the sarcasm.
It's all right.
Like and subscribe to the LFC Total Red Football Podcast on YouTube.
Before we're back on air, probably early next week now, of course, there's the small matter away to Manchester City. Now, I obviously hadn't mentioned we're going to talk about this, but just looking at the 2 games, they're huge games, one in the Champions League and one in the Premier League. I'm trying not to get too carried away with the fact we beat Aston Villa, because at the end of the day, they're no great shakes either. It was nice to get some confidence and points in the bag, obviously. Neil, I'll come to you first. Is there a chance that we could obviously win both of these? Or realistically, is it kind of like, let's just calm down and just take it as it comes very slowly?
I think we should be looking to win both games. So we're at home tomorrow.
I'm sure if you ask Arne Slot, he's going to say, yes, we're going out there to win both games. That's the standard answer anyway. But you know what I mean? As fans, so we're kind of like, let's just take it one step at a time. And,
I think we should have high expectations. I'm hoping that the win against Villa, and Villa were pretty much the form team coming into the game. I'm hoping that kind of laid the foundation. There were still problems. And I'm hoping what we'll see now is a gradual improvement in every game that we play. So with the home atmosphere tomorrow and everybody being well up for the game, I see no reason why we can't go and win. And then on Sunday, it will be difficult. I watched them yesterday. Very dangerous going forward. It looks like Cherki and Haaland are building up summit of a rapport. Haaland's absolutely deadly at the moment. So you've got to snuff him out, but I also think you've got to snuff out Cherki, because I think he's quite quickly, realised that he's just got to take one touch to get the ball in behind the defenders. So, if we're going to push high, I think we'll be vulnerable. But while we're vulnerable, I think they're also vulnerable at the back, and I think we can get at them. I think they will play out from the back and take risks, and that might play into our hands as well. So I think it'll be a difficult game, but if we defend well as a team and we snuff Haaland out, I think we can win it. But it could be any result. It could be a 2-2 draw, or I think it really depends on how we deal with their offensive threat, because they were at times yesterday really, really good going forward against Bournemouth, I thought. But as I say, vulnerable at the back as well.
Kev, just wrapping up, obviously, just what's your thoughts with one eye on the weekend? What's your thoughts on the game?
This is what you want as a fan. This is the week that you want. These are the biggest games with the biggest trophies that you want as a fan. And I'm glad that we're part of it, and I always have been part of it. So these are the weeks I look forward to more than anything. Do you know what I mean? So it's great to see how we are. Yeah, we've had our issues. I agree with Neil. I think they are susceptible at the back. I don't think Donnarumma is as well class as what people make out he is. There's frailties with him, and there's frailties within that back four. But we've got to watch that counter press, because when we get countered, like Villa did, put Haaland in there who's on fire, and as he says, Cherki as well, and obviously Bernardo Silva, who always turns up and has plays like Lionel Messi against us. You've got players that can actually crucify you if you're not defending right. So the fact that we've managed to do well against Villa should set us up for this week, and even with the likes of Vinicius Junior and Mbappe playing against us, that will even put us in better stead for Man City. So this week is basically about building the energy and the confidence up. And we started well at the start of the week against Villa, and we go into tomorrow. And if we win that, then that then sets us up for City. I'm looking forward to it. I'll be there, and I'm hoping to see Liverpool win. So, and I think we can win if we take our chances. I think we've got the firepower that can match City. I think we've got a midfield that can match City. And then it's debatable of who you want who plays out of the back four, but there's at least 2 Liverpool players in there. So, you've got 2 teams that always play well against each other. Expect it could be a draw. I agree with Neil. It could be a draw. Could be a win to us. Could be an emphatic win for us if we manage it right. And I just hope we go in with the same kind of confidence, same kind of intensity we did last season, and take a look at how we done it last year, because we played very well. And let's be honest, there's still 10, 11 of those players, 10 players still with us who played in that game. So, you bear on their confidence and experience in playing these games, and it is going to be hard, but this is the week that you want as a fan. This is where all eyes are on you, and if you come out of it well, smelling roses, then it's not really as bad as what we initially encountered before the Villa game. So, this is great. I'm looking forward to it, to be honest.
Yeah, and so we all should be. As has become the norm now, let's focus back on tomorrow's game. Score prediction. Neil, I'll go with you first.
3-2 to Liverpool.
Okay. Kev?
1-0 Liverpool.
1-0 Liverpool, and I'm going to go
I
with
prefer
standard.
the 1-0, to be honest. Because it'll be another clean sheet, and it will be signs of progress.
Fair play. I'm going to go standard 2-1 Liverpool. I think we will win, but obviously we know it's not going to be an easy game. But I fancy the Reds. Bit of confidence all of a sudden, and maybe the formation change back slightly. I think we'll sucker punch them and show them that just because they've won so many, it doesn't mean they're that good.
No, exactly. It's never an easy away game for teams, so let the atmosphere be vicious.
I want to thank obviously both of you lads, Kev and Neil, for coming on and giving their thoughts on LFC's game against Aston Villa, obviously the preview of the Real Madrid game, and even one eye on the Manchester City game at the weekend. Hopefully tomorrow the lads can do the business against one of the biggest teams in Europe, and just put ourselves back out there with a bit more confidence again and get the win. That would be fantastic in the Champions League, and then turn our attention to Manchester City on the weekend and keep fighting forward in the Premier League. We shall see. Thank you so much for tuning in and watching the LFC Total Red Football Podcast. Like and subscribe on YouTube. You can follow us on Twitter and YouTube and TikTok, etc. And you can also listen to us on Spotify, Apple, Google, etc. and wherever you get your podcast from. Like I say, thanks to both Neil and Kev for joining us. We'll be back next week.
Thanks for listening. Join us next time for more LFC Total Red Football Podcast.